Here's another good metaphor or proverb. There's an established proverb, isn't there? Okay, finish off the proverb. I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. What's the last line?
I do. Something else.
I do, I understand.
Can you say it again?
I hear, I forget. Well, you won't forget because you're writing it down. See, you're doing something. This is writing it down.
What was the middle one?
I see, I remember. I do,
I understand.
I understand. So, going back to some of the things we've been talking about here, about sort of the importance of team, the moving of the Holy Spirit, the different models of friendship. What you're trying to do when you build team is to create a space and a time where people understand. They understand what's going on. They understand why you're doing it. They understand the culture that you're trying to create. They understand what's expected of them. And people will not remember the things that you tell them. They remember the things that they do. And it can be super demanding as a church plant leader because actually, particularly within the Church of England, we have no natural group of doers. The Church of England just doesn't really do things like Antioch. So you're actually trying to, a lot of the time, reprogram people during your team building phase. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. How and when have you seen that work well? What are some of the things that you've seen? The I understand principle. And this is why Antioch is built as an idea that it replicates church planters. The REAP course is a part of I do, like a cycle of I do, I understand. Where have you seen that work well?
I think I went on years ago a lay ministry training course with the Northwest Partnership, and it was 50% biblical kind of teaching and overviews, and then 50% all about this is how to deliver a message, this is how to prepare a Bible study, this is how to communicate these things. And the practical element is combined with the theological is really helpful. But I then I've condensed like 9 months of night classes into essentially 1 page of really helpful tools, which I've then been able to pass on to other people in my church. And in particular, doing Bible studies with other people and helping them to actually work those tools through so that they're actually delivering half or all of it or whatever. That's in doing that in a gradual process as well. That's actually been quite effective. Lots of other things that I've tried have not, but I think that was really helpful. Doing that in small, breaking it down into small steps as well definitely helps. And I think people who've been on that journey with me have remembered more, to your point, than if I just sent them a PDF or just told them it verbally.
It's like when you get, I'm just thinking out of the box of Antioch, so it's not an Antioch, but thinking back over the years, it's when you said to people, right, you lead the Bible study, you go on the church weekend away and do X, Y, and Z, and you obviously help them and work along, they've had some, I know I've grown the most when I've had to step out of my comfort zone and actually do something, which is what your people are doing, isn't it? That you're sort of being beside them while they do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need as well, otherwise people flounder. You've got to feel you've got, I can think over the years of people who've been there. It's always helped to be married to the vicar. He'll tell you if you're, be very honest, if your preach wasn't in a nice way. But it was because he encouraged me to lead and to preach. So it's actually, and you do that with young people, and then you see people raised up. It's actually in the doing, not on the attending courses necessarily. No disrespect to Scott, but it's actually getting in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think for me it's like when I was kind of doing stuff with YWAM, like the kind of thing is do first then teach. Like it's the thing if you try and teach someone and then kind of get them to do it, they very much kind of struggle going actually I've not actually put this into practice. But sometimes when you do it with them for the first time, so they kind of do that, they understand it, and then actually they can then go on to teach others how to do it. And go, this is what I found work well. But also when you find that when you try and teach more and you haven't fully done it yourself, someone will ask you a really tricky question, you kind of go, I don't actually know, because this didn't happen when I did it. And yeah, it's kind of looking at different principles, and looking at different ways of things that's done, kind of adapt and use them.
I think one simple example I can think of is like telling people about the importance of prayer, intimacy with God, and actually praying with them or praying together. And then it seems to be very different,
Yeah, so on that, so we only have like about 5 more minutes, and we maybe we'll just pray for a moment as well. I think the single biggest thing I would sort of extract out of this document and say, think about it, is that in almost every case that I can think of, so I would generally say in every church plant, 2 ministries are the first to come under pressure. So there were 5 ministry areas in any church: serving the world, evangelism, creating community, prayer and worship, and teaching for obedience. Those are really the prophetic presence, maybe. But I mean, generally, it's just those 5. That's what the 2 most vulnerable of those are prayer and evangelism. So, if you're answering the question, why are we here? The first answer to that question is we're here for Jesus. That, yeah, we're here to put ourselves into the firing line and to make disciples. Yes. But we're also there because all authority in heaven and earth is given to Jesus. And we want to experience that. Because he's with us to the end of the age when we do that. Like, you don't just do the Great Commission without accepting the kind of the kind of premise of the Great Commission, which is the authority of Jesus, the promise of the Great Commission, which is his presence. So if you want a praying church, then build a praying team. And vice versa. One of the interesting things about Antioch is pretty much without exception, the leaders are new wine influenced. They've been in and around Pentecostal churches. I was married in one, but we can actually, as leaders, be scared. It's one of the first things that people under pressure kind of might turn away from. There's a wave of kind of almost nominal Pentecostalism running through life and society right now. So as you pray and as you worship, one of the biggest things to say is just be free. Because when you gather in your team, they're gathering around you, they need to know that you're there for the Lord. Now, that's not to diss a lot of the kind of really tough reformed guys, who I think sometimes do an absolutely phenomenal job. Like loads of respect. But people need to know that they, everyone is here for the Lord. And if the Lord's been doing something in your life, make sure that they know that.
Yeah.
Because in the end, if they come to be friends with the fleshly you, you're going to have a terrible time. Let me just repeat that. If they come here to be friends with the fleshly you are going to have a horrible time. Church can't. Because you can't do it.
Yeah.
Whereas if ultimately you're handing them over to Jesus to do the job, then amazing things are going to happen. Just make sure that that comes through when you're shaping your team.
Yeah.
Don't kind of disappear into a kind of functional funk where you're simply reading the exquisitely written advice of the REAP course and missing out on the one who's sent us.
Yeah.
Okay.